So hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lucy and in today's video we are doing something super fun, and I can't believe I've never done this before. As a lot of you might know, if you're not new to my channel and you've watched a few of my videos before, I'm a big Jane Austen fan and your girl is obsessed. And I have never ranked Jane Austen's work before, but something savage just came over me today and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna pick my favourites out of Jane Austen. I have made a tier maker like template, so I will leave a link to that down below if you do want to do it. It will be a lot of fun. So don't forget to let me know if you do this tier maker template. And I want you guys to let me know, what is your God tier Austen? Let me know down in the comments. So before we get cracking on the video, guys, please do make sure you're subscribed to this channel where I'll be making lots of bookish content, lots of bookish fun like this. So please do make sure you're subscribed and that the notification bell is turned on. So without further ado, we're gonna do this. I have my laptop on my lap right now and we're gonna do this. So I am recording my screen. You will hopefully be able to see this. I first wanted to include the unfinished works of Jane Austen, which have obviously gone on to inspire such, like, you know, adaptations such as Sanditon, Lady Susan, etc. So I read her unfinished works a while back. I can't remember them too well, but I remember just thinking, yeah, I'm not really I wasn't that impressed. And you know, like, I do think that if these were full novels, maybe they would be incredible, especially Sanditon. Like, you know what I mean? Sanditon, especially the TV show, had such potential, but then they ruined it by the ending and we're not getting a season 2. So they just shit all over us with Sanditon. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna put the unfinished works of Jane Austen as a not handsome enough to tempt me. So there you go. I'm using Mr. Darcy's words against it, but it's okay. It's not the full-on devotion where I'm completely in love with it and want to watch all the adaptions. Obviously, Sanditon, Lady Susan and the Watsons were all unfinished by Jane Austen before she died. So I think that's not handsome enough to tempt me. We want the full things. Obviously, there's potential there, but it's not God tier, you know? So the next one is Pride and Prejudice. So a lot of you guys know, Pride and Prejudice is my all-time favourite Jane Austen book. The TV show, incredible. The film, delectable. Don't ask me to choose between them. I will always be that person who loves both adaptions. The Keira Knightley film is beautiful, aesthetic, swoon-worthy. I love all the actors in it. The TV show is just comfort in a TV show. And thankfully, I think both of them are now on Netflix. I don't know if the film is back on Netflix, but the TV show, the BBC 1995 TV show, is definitely on Netflix. So do give that a watch. This is God tier Austen for me. This is the first Jane Austen book I ever read, and this really kind of lured me in, I guess. This, you know, I watched the 2005 version before I read the book. I fell in love with that version. I read the book. I was happy that the book just gave me everything I wanted. And at first I was really worried about the kind of, like, not language barrier, but the fact that this book was obviously written in the late 1700s and would I struggle with the language? I was 14 when I first read Pride and Prejudice and it didn't faze me that much. And I think that's because the characters are so strong. There is such kind of warmth to the story and it will always be my favourite Jane Austen book. Maybe it's because it was the first Jane Austen book that I ever read. Either way, I love it. Let me know what your thoughts on Pride and Prejudice are. Is it God tier for you? Is it, you know, bottom of the pile? Who knows? Okay, so the next one is Mansfield Park. Now, Mansfield Park was my favourite Jane Austen book for a while. Might shock some of you. It is perhaps the chunkier of the Jane Austen books. I feel like this has more pages than any of the other Jane Austen books. And it did take me a while to get through, but I adored the main character Fanny. I adored the setup. I adored the kind of, you know, plot, like the central plot was really strong for me. So I'm going to put this in Perfectly Splendid. I loved it, and a lot of people, I think Mansfield Park probably gets the least amount of hype of all the Jane Austen books, and I think that's such a shame because I just love it. I just love it so much. I also like that this is a little bit more nuanced than Jane Austen's other books, and I just think that you can tell that Jane Austen wrote this later on in her writing kind of career. So Mansfield Park is Perfectly Splendid, and I think you should all go read it. So the next one is Northanger Abbey. So I famously, I don't know why I'm saying famously because not everyone knows this about me, but Northanger Abbey is the novel I perhaps least connected with. And I think that's because it's quite obviously a satirical novel about Gothic novels at the time. And I remember studying this at university. I obviously read it before then, but I remember studying it and kind of being like, this is a great novel to study, but I didn't get that swoon-worthy, you know, escapism from it. And that is because I feel like the purpose of Northanger Abbey was to kind of play and, you know, satirize the Gothic novel tradition of the time. So for me, Northanger Abbey has always been my least favourite Jane Austen novel. I'm not going to put it in the Mr. Collins tier because that is rude, and I know I created these tiers, but we're not putting it in Mr. Collins tier, guys. I'm putting it in Not Handsome Enough to Tempt Me. I can't believe I just did that. I feel quite sad, but there you go. Let me know what your thoughts on Northanger Abbey are. Like, do I need to give it another chance? Like, I've only read this once, and I've read the other Jane Austen novels several times, so I feel like maybe I'm being rude to it, you know? Like, I've only read this book once, and here I am throwing the judgments around. I feel like I need to reread this book because, yeah. Okay, so the next novel that I'm going to tier rank is Emma. Emma, oh my god. So I adored this book when I read it. I found it a lot of fun. It's probably the most fun Jane Austen novel you're gonna read. Like, it is a hoot. Like, Emma is just so obtuse and kind of like ridiculous, but I love her for it. And I find it quite hard to read this in the same way because she is hard to like, but that is the point. And I particularly love the adaptions. The Gwyneth Paltrow version of Emma is the one that I know the best, and I love that version. Bit of a confession, I've still not watched the Anna Taylor-Joy version of Emma that was released last year or the year before. I really need to watch that adaptation because I've heard incredible things about it, and I think Emma as a novel is a lot of fun, but I think it's acceptable enough. I can't believe I just did that, but it's definitely towards the bottom of Jane Austen's novels for me. I find Emma hard to connect with. She is a lot of fun. I love Mr. Knightley. I love Mr. Knightley and I love Harriet, but it's just not the same, you know? It's not the same for me. Okay, so here we go. Next up is Persuasion. Now guys, I'm about to go on a rant of why Persuasion is the best Jane Austen novel, apart from Pride and Prejudice. Persuasion is the novel that was published posthumously after Jane Austen's death. This novel is all about like second chances and, you know, realising when you've made a snap judgment on someone or realising when you've let yourself be influenced. Obviously this is about a woman called Anne Elliot, and she falls in love with Captain Wentworth, and you know, they are about to marry when her family steps in because her family believe that Captain Wentworth is not good enough for Anne, and she lets herself be persuaded, and then she comes to regret it when Captain Wentworth comes back from war or wherever he's been, and he is just rich and he's handsome and he's a captain and it's all great. So Persuasion is, I would say, completely god tier for me. I think it's very nuanced as a novel. It's short and it doesn't kind of beat around the bush, but it's also full of emotion, and that's what I love so much about it. I adore Persuasion. Persuasion stan for life, okay? Okay, so the final book is Sense and Sensibility. So guys, this is another Northanger Abbey experience for me. I feel like so many people's favourite book is Sense and Sensibility out of all the Jane Austen books, and I have never got it. I've never really enjoyed any of the adaptions, even the Kate Winslet one. It's okay, like I've seen it several times. I don't get the same emotion as I do like with Persuasion and Pride and Prejudice as I do with Sense and Sensibility. Like I'm a bit like meh on it. And I don't know why this is. I feel like I need to reread Sense and Sensibility because I've studied this in university. I think maybe studying it took the fun and joy out of it for me. It's one of my least favourites as well. It's down at the bottom of the heap, you know? And that makes me really sad because so many people love this novel. For me, this is going into acceptable enough. It's acceptable enough. It is fine. Do I love it? No. And that makes me a little bit sad. So there you go. So to recap, god tier, we have Pride and Prejudice, naturally. We have Persuasion because to me, Persuasion is the most underrated Jane Austen novel ever. You should all go read Persuasion if you have not yet read it. Like, it is 10 out of 10. Perfectly Splendid, we have Mansfield Park. Another underrated novel from Jane Austen. You all need to read Mansfield Park. It is brilliant, and the layers to it, like, this is the thing. I think there is so much more to deconstruct with Mansfield Park. Like, it has a lot going on, you know, and I just love this book. It's also one of the most dramatic, like, Jane Austen books, I would say. Unacceptable enough, we have Sense and Sensibility. Sorry about it, not sorry, you know, it is perfectly fine. It's just never been the one for me. Then we have Emma. As I said, Emma, I don't know, I do love it. It has a soft spot in my heart, but the character of Emma annoys me, and I think that is quite a common reaction to this book. I know a lot of people who get very, very annoyed by Emma, and don't get me wrong, this novel is a lot of fun, and it's the perfect kind of introduction, I think, to Austen, because it is a lot of fun and it's quite funny and it pokes a lot of fun at its characters, which I really enjoy. Not handsome enough to tempt me though, we've got the unfinished works of Jane Austen. We've got Lady Susan, the Watsons and Sanditon. Perfectly meh about all of these. Didn't really connect, but that is understandable when you've got an unfinished novel. You know, we don't have the resolution that these novels would have been given if Jane Austen had worked her magic on them. And finally, we have Northanger Abbey, aka the trash Austen. I feel like I've just like really hurt a lot of people whose favourite novel is Northanger Abbey. If your favourite novel is Northanger Abbey, please tell me in the comments why you think this is, because I need to know. I need to read this again. I need to be converted. You need to tell me what the deal is with Northanger Abbey, okay? So guys, that is it. My tier ranking Jane Austen. I really enjoyed making this video, not gonna lie, hence why I'm grinning like a lunatic. Jane Austen is my ultimate favourite, and I know that's cliche. I know so many English literature graduates probably are like, yeah, we love Jane Austen, like, of course, but she brought me into the reader I am today. Like, basically reading Jane Austen encouraged me to do English literature as a degree. I just connected with her novels from the get-go. So that is why I've chosen to do this video today, and I really, really hoped you enjoyed it. I will leave the link to this tier template down below. Let me know what you will put in your tiers for this. Let me know what your favourite Jane Austen novel is. Let me know what the worst Jane Austen novel is. I want to hear it all. Thank you so, so much for watching, guys, and be sure to subscribe if you're not already. I will see you very, very soon in my next video. Bye.